Hi everyone, I'm Kevin with Larian Studios and welcome to a new modding video. Today we're going to look at root templates. So as I said before a couple of times in the previous videos, root templates are the things you place in the level. So this is the template panel and everything here, for example this farm fence, is something that you just select with the place object mode and you place it inside the level. Now today we're going to look at how to make our own root templates. Now, to begin with that, we'll have to look at the resource manager. Now, the resource manager contains everything that you've imported into the editor. So these are all the visuals that you exported with the export tool. The animations, again, you can export them from with the export tool. If you have made textures of your own, you can import them into a texture resource. You can then use them to make a specific material resource, which contains all the settings for a specific item that you assign the material to. And these then get assigned to a root template, and that one gets placed in the level. So root template is basically the collection of visuals and other resources that you imported into one object that can be placed. And today we're going to look at how to make a character and a creature, which is also categorized under character, and an item. We're going to make our own, and we're going to also enable it so they can be used in Game Master mode, just as we did with this level. So we're going to start with a character, and more specifically with a creature, because I've been looking at this level, and while I think it's pretty cool, it's also pretty empty. And as a Game Master, I would love to have a big boss in the middle of this bridge. And normally you would be going over the resources and look for a cool boss, like maybe a skeleton cat or a boar. But I know exactly what I want, and that is categorized under devil. Now you'll recognize these. They're the summoner incarnates. And one of them, the necrofire giant, is pretty damn awesome. So I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to make a custom boss out of this. So we have the visual resource. That's basically all that we need in this case. So we can go to our root template panel and create a new root template, select character, and then assign whatever we already know we can assign. So we can give it a name, a display name, physics, and visuals. So for visual resource, I know that I want the elemental devil giant necrofire, and I'll also have to give it a name, and I'll also give it a display name for now. But I want a specific name. Let's go for something that fits it, like Bubbles. And display name also Bubbles. Bubbles, the giant elemental necrofire monster. And you can select your mod. In this case, it's my awesome mod. And I'm going to create Bubbles inside this mod. Now, it's in here, in the root template panel, but there's a lot in here. So what you can do is you can filter on your root templates. You'll see that everything that's normally inserted here is black, but everything that's custom to your mod is colored blue. And here we have Bubbles. Now this is basically all that we need to be able to place him in the level. So I can now just drag him or use the interaction mode and just click and place him inside. There we go. Now if we zoom in on him, there he is. Now, a couple of things you need to look at. That is that this entire sidebar property panel now has the default settings because we made a new one from scratch. What I would suggest if you begin is to look at existing models, existing root templates, and see what the settings are. So for example, because this one already exists as a root template, it's also called Devil. You can go to the existing one and see in its sidebar what its properties are. Maybe you missed something. See, if I look at this, for example, I see that I did not assign a physics resource yet. The tags incarnate and summon are specifically for the summoner skills, so those are not needed. but the physics are definitely needed. And except for that, I could go over it and see, for example, that there are still footsteps and there's a ragdoll resource. All these things I should actually assign to make sure that it behaves properly. So what I'd suggest when making your first few root templates and looking at existing ones is, instead of making a new one, as we did now, you could create one from existing. So you could go to a root template that looks similar to what you want. Like, for example, in this case, the giant do not use necrofire. And you would do a right click and create new from selected. This will take everything that's already on the existing root template and just give you a new one. So this time I will just call it bubbles correct, because it has all the correct settings that we need. I will also call this one bubbles, and I will remove the tags because I know specifically that these tags are not needed right now. Now I'm sure that I have everything assigned correctly, so that it also has physics, it also has a ragdoll, so if it dies it falls to the ground instead of disappearing. It has footsteps, so it makes noise and it leaves some traces when it walks through water. The cast shadows, the climb speed is correct. Now I'm sure that this is a correct model, a correct root template. And I create this one again. And now we can see I have both bubbles and bubbles correct. So we're going to remove this one, see if this one also works. There it is. Now, as you can see, you can create a new one from scratch or create a new one from existing. And this is for a character. So we're going to make a second one from existing. And this time an actual, like, playable character, a lizard. So I'm going to look for a lizard. Maybe just lizard male civilian. We're not going to be doing difficult. We'll take the first one. And we'll call this guy Bubbles Master. Display name, the Master. And we create this one as well. And now we have Bubbles Master as well, which we can place next to Bubbles. Now, as you can see, both are characters, but there are a few different settings here. This one is more or less a creature. It has a visual, it has physics, and if we want to make it a boss, we can make it a boss by setting boss to true. This actually just shows the health bar with special flare around it, so it looks more bossy. The character, on the other hand, has a few other things that Bubbles does not have. And the most important one here is a visual set. Now, a visual set is also a resource. You can see it under here, visual set resource. And this has all the visuals in it used for clothing to make the character appear the way it does. So for this example, because it is a lizard civilian, we already have a set created for it that contains all the civilian equipment that we have available in game. And you can just scroll through these. So like this, for example. And you can assign random visuals to it. Random face, random clothing, to give it a personal look. Now again, as with the others, I suggest using the existing sets to start out with. And once you get the hang out of it, you can make your own visual sets in the resources and then assign these. So contrary to creatures, characters generally have visual sets assigned to them to be able to place one root template several times, but make every root template, so every character you place, unique by assigning it different armor pieces. You can also set the colors. There we go. Looks pretty good. Save. So now we change this one, alright? But if we look at Bubbles Master in our root template panel, you can see that if we place this one, it's still the original. The same goes for if I would take bubbles, and because it's a boss, I want to scale him up. So I would go to the scale object interaction mode, or use the scale property. Set it to, for example, 3. It's a bit big, but hey, I mean, big boss. If I look at this one, and I place bubbles again, it's a small one again. That's because the root template contains all the settings that you will place. Once it's placed, it's a unique entity, a unique instance in the level. Everything you change on that one does not change on the root template. So in this case, if I would like to have bubbles and the master set correctly for placing him multiple times, then I would have to change the exact same thing I just did, or set him a bit differently, doesn't really matter that much, and save it in the root template instead of in the level. Same for bubbles. So I will send bubbles to a scale of 2 and save this root template like that. Now if I place the master and I place bubbles, I have correct settings from the start. So remember that if you're changing something, you can change it in the level if it's specific to that level. But if you're making a root template, so something you want to use several times, and you're setting the settings correct, be sure to make all the settings in the root template the way you want it, and not in a test entity that you placed in the level. So there's one more thing I want to change here, and that is setting them up for Game Master mode. Oh, and the boss. Bubbles needs to be a boss. So for Game Master mode, the only thing you need is to go to the sidebar, to the GM part, and set the spawn section and the spawn subsection. This will define, first of all, that it will spawn somewhere in your panel. There's a monsters and items panel that contains everything that you can place, and it is defined by this spawn section. So in this case, I would set him under monsters, I guess, and I would give him a boss subsection just to be able to find him quickly. Same goes for master. This time I would say place him under character and give him the master subsection. And this will allow us to, when we export this level, or when we just export this project, my bad, and we load it into the game, we will see these items in the Game Master mode, if we enable the add-on for Game Master, of course. Now, there's one more item I want to create next to this one, and that is an item. So I did 2 characters now. And let's make just a custom item to see how that works, because it works exactly the same. So for example, a ballista. Let's take a siege ballista. Now in this case, the siege ballista is already fine. If I export it to my level by checking it out, it gets blue because it's now in my mod. And I can go through it. I can see that it is a black ring ballista. It has, there we go, that's perfect on the spot. It has, as with everything that you create from an existing one or just which you already have available from us, it has a visual resource, it has physics, it has a correct name, it is the dynamic one, so it can be used. So this one has the script assigned to, the script will be here, puzzle ballista. It has a script assigned that will make it possible to shoot with this ballista. And the only thing that it doesn't have is again the GM section. So we copied this one to our mod by checking it out, or by right click open for edit. This means that this is now actually copied into our project. If we change this, we change the version in our project. Users that don't have our project will have the original ballista. And users that have our project will always use this custom version of us. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the GM session again. And here in the spawn section, add it to weapons, I guess. Ballista. So we can also see if this works actually. by going into game mode, saving everything. Let's see. Okay, there he goes. And he's dead. Okay, so I'm just going to remove these from the level to avoid having them always in the level. As a GM master, you preferably want to place them in GM mode and not have them already placed in the level. So we have a clean level now, and we have some characters, some root templates that we made ourselves. So just to reiterate, if you import something, either something you found on the internet or something you made yourself in Maya and export it, or something you made in Photoshop or anything, you import them into the resource manager as a specific resource. Then you create your root templates, either from scratch or from existing, and assign all the resources you need assigned to it that are relevant. So a visual, specific physics, other settings like is it a boss or not, has it a GM section or not. And then when that's done, everything's done for you. You can use them wherever you want, as for example, as we're going to do now, by using them in GM mode. So we're going to go to our game. Okay, so as with the initial video where we explained how to set up mods, the mod section in the main menu sets up your mods for the main game. For Game Master, if you have a campaign that you're playing, like for example the Hungry Journey that we delivered, or a custom campaign, you have to set the add-ons for that specific campaign in the creation or in the settings menu of that campaign. So in this case we use Kevin's awesome mod, as we did before. We call this Kevin's awesome campaign. Awesome. We create it. Then we create the level that we want, so we add a new pin, we bind a level to it, we call it Bridge of Echoes again. We look for Bridge of Echoes, which is here, apply. We're going to load the level just to test it out. So here we are. This is our level that we created previously in the initial video. But now our mod also has Bubbles, Bubbles Master, and the Ballista. So now we can go to the section that we assigned to it. So for Bubbles, that was Monster, Boss, there we go, Bubbles. And we can place Bubbles in the level. For the Master, he was under, I think, Humanoids? Other Master, there we go. And our Ballista was under Weapons, which we have in Items, Weapons, Ballistat, close enough. There we go. So now this guy we would like to turn around. Let's delete this one for a second. Oops. There we go. Let's aim for the big baddie like this. Okay. There we go. Now we have Bubbles. So this is also the boss UI. You see that he has, compared to the Master, a cool golden border around it. And now in Game Master mode, you can set everything specifically to this session, which you didn't set in the root template panel. So for example, you could give him actual bleed fire for infinity. But for this sake, we're just going to see if this works. So we have it set up and we're going to shoot the Ballista. Do we want to actually place a character so we can use the Ballista? possess him. There he is. Let's see what happens. Haha. Boss defeated. Anyway, that's about it. So, for creating root templates, just look at the existing root templates to see how it works. Be sure to import everything you need or that you created yourself in the resource browser and then assign them to the root templates according to whatever you want to create. Make sure to look that you are editing the root template and not an instance in game, so everything that you do is actually saved for later on. If you want to enable something in Game Master mode, go to the GM subsection in the sidebar panel, set up the category correctly so you can find it easily, and then just add it to your level in Game Master mode or add it to your level for a story campaign and just enjoy yourself with it. Thanks for watching, be sure to check out our other videos and see you later!